What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the 10,000 subscriber Q&A. I tend to be a pretty private person, all right? So having to answer questions from y'all is kind of new. It's different, but I kind of like it, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Thank you to everyone who supported this channel. I really appreciate it. We're really on the come up. We're almost at 11K, so it's kind of late to be doing this, but better late than never, right? All right, let's get started. So the first question comes from Luke Buffington, and he asks, favorite type of music and favorite artists? All right, so my favorite type of music would either be R&B or rap. It flip-flops depending on the day. But as for my favorite artist, it's been NF for a while. If you don't know NF, look him up, listen to his music. That dude is the truth, one of the best rappers out right now. I've actually covered some of his content on this channel before. One of my most detailed analyses was actually one of NF's songs that I analyzed, right? So check that out too. John Woodhouse asks, when in hip-hop history did it become gangster to write poetry? Killing people, selling drugs, and prostituting women seems completely incongruous to thoughtfully creating rhymes about those things. What's really funny is that even in poetry history, if you go back to even Shakespearean times and stuff, a lot of poetry is about some gritty stuff as well, you know? So that hasn't actually changed, ironically, but I know what you're trying to say. I don't really know. I'm not really sure. You got to ask the OGs. I mean, they're not even around anymore. If we're talking like Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, Cool Herc, things like that. Yeah, I don't know when it became gangster to write poetry, but thank God it did. You feel me? All right. Next up, we got Music123 who asks, well, he doesn't ask this. He says, I've never understood poetry, but really want to. Where's a good place to start? I do indigenous language revitalization work, so anything pertaining to culture, decolonization, and connection to land is up my alley. Really like your Harry Mack reactions and the energy you provide. Okay, so one place I'd say to start would be Derek Walcott, one of the best poets of the 20th century. This man, nuts. He died a few years ago, sadly, but his work still resonates today. My favorite poem of his, which I've actually analyzed on the channel, is called A Far Cry from Africa. All right, this poem deals with culture differences depending on like where you are citizenship wise and where your country of origin is, right? Decolonization, connection to land, all of that is in this poem, right? And I gotta say, it's one of the first poems that I ever really connected with, like really connected with. So definitely check that out. A Far Cry from Africa, one of my favorite poems. Derek Walcott's stuff in general is up your alley, so check that out. Next up, we got Big Papa, who says, firstly, congrats on 10K, bro. Better days ahead. Yo, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Not sure if I'm too late, but I have some questions. Top 5 or top 10 Omegle bars. Examples, Math, COVID, Yoda of the Dark Streets, etc. No particular order. Okay, so I'm assuming you mean like my favorite schemes of the Omegle bar series, right? So I actually made a list. Let me start by answering that. We have the Octagon scheme of Omegle bar 6, the meditation / spirituality scheme of Omegle bar 6, COVID in Omegle bars 18. It was the last freestyle, the one where I cried in a lot. You know what I'm saying? Yo, that one hit home. I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we got the painting freestyle at the end of Omegle bars 22, where he was like rapping about each painting shown to him, right? You have the cable background olive freestyle in Omegle bars 29. It was the very first one, I believe. The Dominican Republic / baseball one. It was the last one of Omegle bars 29. You have the ball, 2K, and snow freestyle of Omegle bars 30. The money, fame, and clout freestyle of Omegle bars 37. The math freestyle of Omegle bars 37. And then the womb freestyle of Omegle bars 39. All right, that was a long list, but that's my top 10, all right? The next question was top 5 lyrical MCs. That would be Kendrick, Eminem, NF, Harry Mack, and J. Cole in no particular order. All right. Now I know some of y'all might have heard Harry Mack and you were like, really? Is that really in your top 5? Yeah, Harry's actually my top 5. I'm not just saying that. I love Harry's content. I don't just watch his content when I'm reacting. Sometimes I'll replay his videos while I'm exercising, while I'm taking a shower, while I'm reading a book. I'll have Harry playing in the background. I'm not lying. Like, I really love his content. There's a reason why I've been doing it on my channel. You know what I'm saying? Top 3 popular poems. That would be If by Rudyard Kipling, Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson, and then The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. As for my top 3 poets, I couldn't choose 3. I could only narrow it down to 6, but those are Brandon Leak, Maya Angelou, Amanda Gorman, Billy Collins, Jasmine Mans, and then Rudy Francisco. All right, if you don't know those poets, definitely check them out. They have really upped their accolades in and of themselves, so you definitely want to see their content. I've actually either reacted to or analyzed their content on this channel at one point, all of them, you know, so if you haven't watched some of my older videos, check those out and you can actually get a good idea of what these poets are like. And then the final question from Big Papa is, what made you gravitate toward poetry? That's a tough one. It's a combination of things. All right. First off, the power of words. All right. I remember being in high school, I had heard a lot of poems in English class and things like that. But the first poem I ever really connected with was this poem by a friend of mine. She wrote this poem about, you know, like the loss of her father and how that affected her and how much she misses him. And I remember thinking to myself, like, dang, I've never really felt any kind of strong emotion after hearing a poem before until now. And I told myself from that moment, maybe I should like start giving poetry a chance. So I started writing poetry from there. What really made me gravitate towards poetry after that was trying to spit game at shawties. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was pretty much the 2 things that made me gravitate towards it. But then after a while, I fell in love with poetry for poetry's sake. And I've never looked back. Kale Schellenberg asks, not really a question, but I'd love to see a poet react to the Palmer squares. Consistently inconsistent. They are severely underrated. If it's poetry content, you never know. I might add it to my list. I'm assuming it must be some kind of like, you know, rap or spoken word. Otherwise, I can't react to it. I'm a poetry channel after all, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I might add it to the list. So if I'm out of content, you know, I might do that. You never know. The homie Dario says, congrats in advance. I'm assuming he's saying in advance because at the time he wrote the comment, I hadn't hit 10,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for that. And then he asks, which artist or multiple was your greatest inspiration to become a poet? That would be Billy Collins or Rudy Francisco. Next up, we have Lorenzo Brigode, who says, what is your favorite poetic form and why? Okay, so my favorite poetic form, probably the haiku, the Shakespearean sonnet, or a crown of sonnets. The haiku, I like it because due to the limitations of the form in terms of syllable count, you have to say something very impactful with very little words, right? Which means there can't be much filler involved. There's less distractions and the main message is very clear. I like haikus for that reason. As for Shakespearean sonnets, they just sound really pretty. They sound pretty and they look really nice on the page typically. I like how they look on the page. And then a crown of sonnets is simply multiple sonnets that kind of loop in terms of message. It's weird. Like the last line of one sonnet is like the beginning line of the next sonnet. And then the last line of the final sonnet is the first line of the first sonnet. It's weird. So it's kind of like this cyclical form. And I just really like that idea. You know what I mean? Anyway, as for your next question, you say, do you have any Sistina writing tips? I'm writing a lot of those right now. Sadly, I'm not particularly good at writing Sistinas. All right. Though I do love to read them. It's one of my favorite forms to read, but not really to write. The biggest piece of advice I can give you regarding writing them is to make sure that when you're using the 6 words that you have to repeat throughout the poem, that it is in an organic way. It needs to look natural, right? Due to the stipulations involved in writing a Sistina, you have to continuously repeat the 6 ending words in each stanza. A lot of times I notice it looks forced. It looks like you just had to get the word in there somehow. And so you wrote whatever worked, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like natural speech. That can be a very big distraction if you're a reader because you're sensing the pen of the poet too strongly, right? It's kind of hard to get lost in the poem when you can see that the poet is trying to force a form to happen. You see what I'm saying? So try to make sure that the speech is organic and that what you're trying to say sounds natural. Sajad GHS says, hi, and congrats on reaching 10,000 subscribers. My question is, I was wondering if you've read any poems or any poets from other languages. I speak Farsi. So the only other language I speak, other than English, of course, is Spanish. I've actually been losing it lately due to just being in the pandemic and not being around Spanish speakers. But prior to the pandemic, my Spanish was really up there, right? And I looked at the work of Gloria Anzaldúa quite a bit. I'm not very familiar with her poems in particular, more so her essays. However, I will say that the few poems I have read are really dope. You know what I'm saying? Gloria Anzaldúa is a Chicana poet, so she speaks Spanish. Yeah, she's something else. The way her mind works, out of this world. You know what I'm saying? Like, god dang. I really wish I could have met her. Let's put it that way. Yeah, her poetry was really good. Other than her, I don't really read poetry of other languages. Next up, we have Cutter Anthem, who asks, can you do a reaction to the Mark Rebillett or Rebele Harry Mack live stream? There was a song on there that really shows Harry Mack's power around the 30-minute mark. Much love. Okay, so I've actually gotten requests for this a lot, and I've been thinking about doing it. The issue is that video where they do the collab is like almost 2 hours long, unless there's another video y'all are talking about that I don't know of. That's a lot of reacting to do. And that means a lot of editing. I don't know if I can do that. I suppose I could start around the 30-minute mark like you're saying. Maybe that's a good option. I might be able to pull that off. We'll see. No promises, but I've gotten a lot of requests for it. You're not the only person, so yeah, we'll see about that. Zen says, as a poet, how do you see the world we currently live in? I know, broad question, hoping it churns in your mind before the Q&A. Yeah, that was probably the deepest questions anyone had asked in this Q&A. Give me a second to think about that. Okay, so I ended up having to write down my answer just because of how loaded the question was, so I'll just read it out. It's hard to say. I have such a limited perspective of the world as a young man here in America. I'll say the world is a beautiful place, but there's also atrocities that happen on a daily basis. I think humans are interesting. We're the most neurologically advanced species, making us capable of the world's greatest acts of good, but also the greatest acts of evil. I choose to fix my mind on the good, but still acknowledge the evil in the hopes that one day we can overcome it. Hopefully that answers your question. Heist Star asks, can you do more live streams? Do you have a Twitch channel? What makes you keep going when you're losing motivation? And then finally, 10K bro, congrats, well done. I think the 1 mil will be coming soon. Oh my God, I really appreciate that. That's really nice of you. Let's see, as for live streams, I don't really know how to do live streams that well. I've never even tried. The closest I've done is premieres, which kind of act as live streams, but they're pre-recorded. Okay, so I'll give it a shot. I'll ask around, try to make sure that when I do a live stream, it doesn't like glitch or something like that. We'll see. Do I have a Twitch channel? No, I don't. Maybe I should get one. A lot of people are having Twitches nowadays, or Twitch channels nowadays. I'll give it a shot. We'll see. Maybe. No promises. What makes you keep going when you're losing your motivation? The first thing I do is try to remember those who need me to succeed. All right, whether it's family or friends who are down on their luck, just keeping those people in mind prevents me from getting lazy or getting complacent or cutting corners. I try to make sure to do my very best because at the end of the day, they're on my mind and I want what's best for them. I can only help them if I succeed. You see what I'm saying? So that's one thing I try to keep in mind. And then the other thing is that I remember those who laughed at my dream. I've had people laugh at me when I told them my goals and aspirations. And I've learned since then not to be so open about the things you hold dear to your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a few people you can tell, but for the most part, you should like try to keep that stuff to yourself before people squash it, right? But being that those people have already laughed at me and, you know, made me feel bad, I use that like as a flame, you know what I'm saying? I put that in my heart and I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm gonna prove them wrong. That's another thing that helps me. Mike S asks, what are your long-term 5 to 10 year goals and aspirations? Whew, that is a loaded question. Some of my goals, as I said before, are really close to my heart and I try not to share them for fear of, you know, people like trying to kill the dream before it really takes flight. But there's some I can share. So I'll share these, right? In 5 years, I'm hoping I'll be at 100,000 subscribers. That would be really nice. Oh man, that'd be nice. In 10 years though, 1 million, that would be crazy. Maybe I might hit those goals sooner. I like to think so, we'll see. And then I want to be a full-time poet and YouTuber in 10 years. I don't want to have to rely on any other job. I'm currently doing another job that is considered more of a job by people. But yeah, at one point I want YouTube and poetry to be the only thing that help me take care of a family and raise children, things like that. Oh, also, I want to be published in Poetry Magazine. That is probably the #1 ranked poetry journal / magazine in America and maybe even the world. I'm not too sure. But yeah, if I could get published in that, I know I've made it. You feel me? I know I've made it. So yeah, if I could do that in 10 years, that'd be nice. Troy McAdams says, congrats to you and yours. I have a 2-part question, as I have done some post-grad research and consider myself to be a creative. When do you find your flow state? That is, do you intentionally set up your environment / have a routine when you write to optimize your art? Yes, I do. So I don't know if actually, before I answer that question, let me get something real quick. Okay, so this little toy right here helps me enter flow state, which can be very helpful for when I'm writing. When I'm writing in flow, it feels amazing, but getting into that has always been a difficulty for me. Before a writing session, I'll typically take this out, go through multiple rounds of solving and scrambling it, and then I'll set it down and get to writing. And for whatever reason, the words just come out naturally, they flow. It's almost like the patterns necessary to solve the cube get my mind into this zone. I don't know, it's weird. It's so strange. I don't know why that works, but yeah, solving the Rubik's Cube before I get started helps a lot. Another thing I do for my environment is I play instrumental music. Instrumental because there's not going to be words that distract me. Since I'm writing, I wouldn't want to have other words in my head from the song. And then instrumental music also blocks out like other noises that can come from the background. So yeah, those are the 2 things I do to optimize my environment for flow. As for your next question, you say, second question, much less serious and maybe a bit of my own problem with society. How do you negotiate your 9-to-5 / daily life with such a gift? I'm assuming by gift, you mean either poetry or me like reacting to poetry. Like, are you constantly having to manage your creative genius in order to communicate, negotiate, and interact with normal humans, or relative to those who identify with more dominant culture, US, ethnic, religious, etc. egos? Best regards, Professor Troy. All right, that's a really good question. As for juggling my passion with my 9-to-5 daily life, it's a bit hard. I'll say that, specifically because people don't really treat my passion as if it's a real job. Like, I make money off of poetry and YouTube. Like, I make more money off of those things than I do my 9-to-5, funny enough. But people don't seem to get that. They don't think it's a real job. And I mean, my job isn't to convince them, right? It's just to do me and be happy. But that can be a bit tough sometimes. But it is what it is. Most people I come across are very supportive, right? So yeah, I don't really care. Devin Pilot says, congrats, brother. Love your channel. Thanks so much. So much positive energy. My question is, what time does Harry do his Omegle recordings? I'm in Central Standard Time Zone. I just want a chance to get on the screen with the GOAT. I got words loaded. One can only dream. All right, so I have no idea. I have no clue. I do know that Harry typically likes to perform for strangers on Omegle. So, I mean, I guess do as you please. If you can get the time, sure, go ahead. But yeah, I have no idea. Frank Dunn asks, what was the best piece of advice you've ever received? All right, so there's 2. One comes from my mom. The other actually comes from Meek Mill, but we'll start off with the one from my mom. She told me when I was very young, if you want to avoid being jealous of others, praise them for the things that would have made you jealous to their face and behind their back. Like, to other people, tell others about how amazing that thing is about that person, and it'll kill the envy before it's even born. And this has always worked for me ever since she told me that, like back when I was like a kid. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get jealous of people. They might have more money than me. They might have more accolades than me. They might be stronger, faster, better looking. And if I'm out here praising them for those things to their face and to other people, at the end of the day, it squashes the envy before it can even emerge. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really good piece of advice. Thank you, Mom. The second one is from Meek Mill, and it's actually one of his song lyrics, all right? Gangsters move in silence, and I don't talk a lot. Those who really blow up in this world have been like working on their craft for years in silence. You know what I'm saying? And the reason for that is there's always this possibility that someone might see what you're doing and either try to squash it, or they'll get really excited for it. And let's say it never comes to fruition. You never actually get it to pan out the way you hoped. Now people are going to be thinking you didn't try hard enough, you didn't work hard enough. Either way, there's no downside to not telling people about what you got coming out, whatever projects you're trying to work on, until it's about to come out or until it comes out, right? So that's why I think it's best to just move in silence. That way, people can't squash your dreams and your goals, but at the same time, and this is just as important, you won't be letting people down when you don't end up coming out with that project or that album or that poetry collection or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Next up, we got a question from GOTEmusic, the GOAT himself. You know what I'm saying? GOTEmusic, if y'all haven't subscribed to him, subscribe to him, all right? I use his music as background music for my channel, so check him out. He also has some great Harry Mack compilations. He asks, what was your favorite video game back in the day when you were just a little poet? Jak and Daxter. I loved Jak and Daxter, played it all the time on the PS2. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, that game still goes hard even today. You feel me? Julius Vincent Elarmo says, hey man, huge fan from the Philippines. I like your reactions on YouTube, especially Harry Mack's. I have a question though. What's your advice to someone aspiring to be a poet? Not to take it as a profession, but as for a hobby. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you so much. Let's see. I guess my biggest piece of advice would be to read a lot of poetry. The best writers are the best readers. So regardless of whether you want it as a profession or not, nothing can go wrong from just reading poetry. Now, I will say this. If you're going to read poetry, don't just read like poetry from the greats like Shakespeare and stuff, because if you don't connect with that, don't bother. I would say find poetry that you like, invest yourself in that, and read a lot of that. That's a great way to like cultivate your own writing and your own voice. All right. Oh, GOTEmusic again. All right. He asks, if you could make a Mount Rushmore of your heroes, who would it be? That's tough. I'm going to say my father, Eric Thomas. So that's E.T. the hip hop preacher, Brandon Leak, and then Michael B. Jordan. All right. Yeah, I guess those would be my top four. I just realized you might not know who some of those people are. So Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker. Brandon Leak was in my top 5 for like poets, or top 6. I don't remember what I did. But yeah, he's really up there for me. I might have him like closer to 1, actually. He might be my number 1 favorite. All right, I don't know. But Brandon Leak is something else. America's Got Talent season 15 winner. First poet to ever win the show. Obviously, he's amazing. Michael B. Jordan is an actor. He was... what has he been? He's done so many roles. I don't even know. The dude's a legend. All right. He did Eric Killmonger in Black Panther. There you go. Next question is from Senpai LOL, who asks, can you react to the Akala Fire in the Booth parts 1 to 4? One of the best you'll understand. So I've already reacted to part 4 and part 1. It's only 2 and 3 that I haven't reacted to. So it's only a matter of time before I get those done. You know what I'm saying? ZQKBPH asks, have you tried freestyling on a beat? Yes, I can actually freestyle, funny enough. I'm not that good. I started freestyling because I thought it would improve my poetry, and it did. It really, really did. I might do a video on how exactly it did in the future, so I won't get too much into that, but yeah, I've been freestyling quite a bit. Now, I gotta say, I have a friend of mine who's actually collabed on the channel with me before, Dice7820. Check out his stuff. He did a recent reaction of Akala Fire in the Booth Part 1. He did that reaction with me on the channel, and he freestyles really well. He freestyles better than I do, and he's been giving me pointers, so that's been nice. Random Dude asks, what's your favorite anime? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Yeah, I love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I feel like it's so underrated, man. Like, a lot of people like the anime, but no one really appreciates it like I do, and I'm just like so aggravated by that, but it's okay. And then the final question is from Michael Jurgens, and he says, how do you see this channel in 5 years? In terms of subscribers, I hope I'm at 100,000 by then. That'd be really nice. In terms of content, I'm not really that sure. The reason why I don't know is because I'm constantly evolving, and I don't know where I want to take this channel in the future. I know I still want to keep reacting to rap, spoken word, and like sharing my own poetry and stuff, but I don't know, maybe I might invite poets to perform on the channel, maybe interview them, things like that. Maybe they can react alongside me to some of the poetry that I watch. In 5 years, I'd also like to have writing workshops for my subscribers. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? I have something pertaining to a contest coming soon. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And then finally, in 5 years, I'm hoping my channel will be a community of people that really appreciate poetry the way I do. You know, all forms of poetry. If I could do that, I'd be really happy in 5 years, you know? Anyway, maybe this might age really badly. I might look at this 5 years from now and be like, you didn't hit 100K, your community doesn't care for poetry, you don't collaborate with any of these big time poets. Maybe I might look back at this and regret it, but I'm gonna put it out there. In 5 years, I'm gonna be at 100K at least. I'm gonna be having writing workshops, poetry contests. My community is gonna love poetry the way I do. That's what I'm banking on, y'all. All right, so that's all I gotta say. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, buy some Poet Life merch. That goes a long way in helping. Yeah. And I'll be back with another video soon enough. Deuces.